under the statute, all officers and employees.
How come all these other townships are doing it online?
You can do it.
So we have to be here.
You don't have to physically do it. You have to do it. The online program has to make sure that it's not. So, by and signing the certification and doing the online class. Let me ask a question. I'm not sure. If we follow this thing, okay, so exactly as it is. Correct. And then we sign it saying method of training online. Correct. And we wouldn't have to come. No. You know. Okay. Hello? That is correct. Right. So Steve, you wouldn't have to come. Or any other trustee. We're doing all employees at one time.
How long?
We're doing the employees all the time, so that keeps the record straight. I think she's referring also maybe online programs. I'm not sure how long it is online. Maybe 25 minutes, an hour. Oh, to do that an hour, maybe to do that online.
Oh, I thought it was Thursday.
Can you just go there?
It doesn't give time.
No, you have it. Yeah, so the training, that's this. That's for the training. She's gonna find a product that makes it cover. And so, because she's the lady who's doing the program, it doesn't just include this, it includes her behavioral she covers more than just that, but that incorporates everything, including in her program. But from a participation standpoint, we just need to make sure we follow sexual harassment. This is the online course. Okay.
So you just go online on here.
Yeah.
I assume you talk. In other words, you just can't read that and say you did it right.
Yeah, that's the only way I can do it.
Okay.
You know, we're going to trust that you can read it and see it. It doesn't print your certificate. Certificate's at the end there somewhere. It's the last page, 35, 46.
So there's no real program. It's just that.
It's just that, but the township can apply for an online program. There's other organizations that offer the program, and we do the program through the organization. You go through it, but regardless, at the end of the day, the township needs you to sign this last page.
By the end of the year.
By the end of the year, that's right. By the end of the year. And then you got to do it each year thereafter.
Is the light YouTube?
Oh, yes, it is.
Do you have the key for the media room?
No, this is it.
Yeah, I know that. No, not for the camera, for the media room.
It's on.
Oh, the key's there.
No, it's on.
No, do you have the key for the door?
Yeah.
I have the key to get in there.
Why?
I need to get in there for the volume.
Oh, you have to go to my box.
Okay.
Yeah, I knew that. That's the end of it. It's not. I see you have the same problem I do. Yeah. How you been? Oh, yeah. Where's she at? Oh, okay. Pretty white, right?
It's been bad. It's the hottest thing I ever did in my life, I think.
Oh, what is the new one that's next to, just Heritage Woods, right?
Yes. It's brand new. It's
Okay, about the hour is 7 p.m. We call the meeting to order, pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Trustees Anderson.
Here.
Rakestraw.
Here.
Here. Wojciechowski.
Here.
Here. Adams. Here. All present.
Okay, it's public comment time. Public, please keep your remarks. What am I trying to say?
3 minutes. Civil?
Professional. That's right. Yes. Professional. And the first one I have is Mike Guy.
Mike Diamond, McHenry County. In my hand is the official list of McHenry County referendum for the November 3rd election as of this evening. Your second attempt for a referendum question to abolish McHenry Township is not on it. You three have lost again. You three are the classic definition of insanity. You keep doing the same thing over and over and expect a different result. Stop all this crap and do your job for the elected. Do your elected job for the McHenry Township citizens.
Hey, could I say something? It has nothing to do with public comment or anything like that.
Okay.
I'm just concerned that Dan should possibly be wearing gloves while he does that because,
Well, this is sanitation. So
Right.
every time I wipe it, I'm cleaning my hands.
I'm just looking out for your personal safety.
Oh,
Wearing
thank you.
some gloves. Yeah,
Every
but
time I do that, I'm wiping.
Just brought it up.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. It's not maybe a bad idea in the future. Okay, next I have Robert Beltran.
Good evening. I'm demasking so you can understand me. Robert Beltran, 2814 Regner Road, Mchenry. This board claims to have been elected to save taxpayer money. You surely have an odd way of doing that. You spend tens of thousands of dollars on a series of ill-advised undertakings, an off-the-mark study delivered after the drop-dead date, which you didn't have to pay, an overpriced attorney filing a quixotic suit rejected by the judge as absurd, and that's in quotes. And we are looking at a forensic audit with no alleged evidence of wrongdoing, all at the expense of the Township Reserve Fund, which is now needed because of COVID-19, and at the cost of senior transportation services and the Emergency Assistance Fund. Who is going to pay for the ill-advised lawsuit filed against the McHenry County Clerk? It shouldn't be McHenry Township taxpayers. The decision to file suit was never made, at least not in open session, which is the only place you can legally make such decisions. Yes, there was a decision to engage the Hanlon Law Firm to serve upcoming matters relative to the yet to be filed referendum proposal. So I'll say that again. Yes, there was a decision to engage the Hanlon Law Firm to serve upcoming matters relative to the yet-to-be-filed referendum proposal. This in lieu of Township Attorney Militello because of a perceived conflict of interest. But that resolution provided no specific instruction to Hanlon to file a suit. Or for what? Exactly who instructed Hanlon in the matter? And who was that person? And was that person authorized to do so by a vote of the board? If so, when was that vote? That was an independent $10,900 decision that one would assume the board would have voted on. Likewise, regarding the appeal, when, according to the Northwest Herald, Mr. Ver instructed Hanlon to proceed, no doubt for a handsome amount again. When and in what venue was Mr. Ver authorized to independently act on behalf of the board? These decisions were not made in open session and are prima facie violations of the Open Meetings Act. Therefore, they are not actions the board is legally enabled to do. So the township will have no business paying Mr. Hanlon's bill. In fact, there is no township record of an agreement to be found retaining Mr. Hanlon for those purposes. I therefore expect those who take credit for these decisions to pay the expenses from their own pockets. And by the way, when will we have our statutorily required annual meeting of the electors? Thank you.
Working. It's not.
There we go.
Okay.
Okay, next we have Hans Moore.
Good evening. Verna Sparrow, 4711 West Oakwood Drive in McHenry. I just want to address that you're still wasting a lot of money that could be used for other resources, such as helping people, instead of taking away money from funds that are set up to help people. I find myself in need of help from senior services because of personal things happening in my small unit of family. If they weren't there, I don't know if I could have handled it emotionally. It was a strain. They have offered support to me, to my mom, and by that, the rest of my family. The senior bus service was a great help to my mom. At least gave her something to look forward to every week. Instead of taking money for fraudulent lawsuits, why don't you use it to help other people instead of taking the funds away from the programs that are meant to help other people? This is a vendetta that you're using to hurt people that are in McHenry County, and I don't have any respect for people that do this, even though you are elected officials, at least some of you are. Thank you, that's all I have to say.
Mike Toller?
Mike Toller, I'm sorry, who's next?
Mike Toller, Wonder Lake. I'd like to take a moment to read some excerpts from the recent ruling on your guys' ballot item. Here McHenry Township acknowledges the wording in the proposed question and the issue is identical to the referendum question considered in the March 2020 election, with the sole exception being the effective date of the proposed abolishment of the township. McHenry Township nevertheless argues that the difference renders the 23-month rule inapplicable. For several reasons, the court finds this argument specious. That's the first time. Second, the change in the effective date McHenry Township relies on is governed by statute, which provides that the proposed date of the dissolution shall be at least 90 days after the date of election on which the referendum appears to be voted on. This sounds awfully familiar to some things that the public and your guys' own attorney told you before you even filed this suit. All right, whether that be 8 months apart, as McHenry seeks to do, or at least 23 months apart as required under election code. The superfluous nature and the change in the effective date from the referendum in question in March 2020 election to the proposed question here is one example of a litany of ones that lead to the inescapable conclusion that the proposed referendum here is the same proposition. Submitted and voted upon March 2020. The form of the question is identical to the ones voted upon in March 2020. The proposition the public voted on and rejected was whether McHenry Township should be abolished, not the effective date of the dissolution. The effective date is governed by statute and not a question the public can vote on. Most significantly, McHenry Township's theory that submitting the same substantive referendum question on abolishing the township but changing the effective date renders the 23-month rule inapplicable would render Section 28-7 unenforceable and is clearly contrary to both the election code and the township code. For all the above reasons, the court finds that Ontario had the authority to reject the proposed referendum question submitted by McHenry Township pursuant to resolution, and that the determination that the proposed referendum violated Section 28-7 of the election code was correct. As such, McHenry Township is not entitled to injunctive or meritorious relief, and complaint should be dismissed with prejudice. That was the order that dismissed your complaint, and you're appealing that order. Everything that you guys put forth in argument was incorrect, and you were warned of this beforehand. Bob and Mike lost way back when they tried to eliminate all townships in 1994. By the way, in a 3-to-1 margin, the same exact margin that we had in the most recent vote. Time has not met. No beat.
35 seconds.
No, it's over 3 minutes now.
No, it's not, and
want
you're
that-
taking his time.
I want that time back.
Keep talking. You got 26 seconds.
The same margin in the recent attempt. How does it feel to have made absolutely no progress in 26 years? Bob? Mike? You lost the buffer referendum, you lost the township dissolution question, you lost in court on August 24th, and now the tax revolt will waste more money on appeal of this decision. Chasing this lawsuit is a violation of your fiduciary duties as members of this board to the citizens of the township. Oh, and Jamie says resign. She can't be here tonight.
Time's up. You and I, sorry, I skipped it.
Okay.
Next name is Mchenry Township.
My name is Judith Gottlieb. I live at 2814 Regner Road. I want to thank the township and the Township Road District for making the decision that those of us who live on former non-dedicated roads actually have a right to some public benefit for our tax dollars. The people in our subdivision have been paying roads and bridges taxes for 100 years, but did not receive benefit from it. So this year, under the care of Jim Condon, the Township Road District rebuilt our roads with the assistance of an aide from McHenry County. And we are very grateful. Jim Condon also did a very good job of negotiating with the local neighborhood people about drainage issues. And people get very excited about drainage, I can tell you. But we are very grateful for the professional behavior of Jim Condon. Thank you.
The last person on my name is Linda Fowler.
Linda Toller, Wonder Lake. I'm glad you enjoyed my last comment, Mr. Beer. I notice you really enjoyed using the phrase dereliction of duty, and against others, proving one of my other points in the process. But no matter, the phrase is fun. It's the alliteration that makes it fun to say. All of those D's. So here's another alliteration for you. Countless cases of cronyism and corruption. Why else would a self-proclaimed intelligent man push to hire an overpriced lawyer with a terrible track record? Why else would the same man pursue an action that breaks the very laws of the state he resides in? Using this overpriced lawyer friend of his to cost the taxpayers as much money as possible in an attempt to illegally silence the very people he's supposed to be listening to and serving. And to file an appeal when the true and just verdict was handed down to waste even more money. Over $10,000 of our money. Equivalent to over 14 families using the emergency assistance due to the heavy toll coronavirus is taking. Families that may be facing eviction not because of taxes, but because they couldn't get the assistance they needed. Assistance you should have provided. Instead of using that money to help us, you use it to hurt us. A friend got you on this board, and now you pay off another friend in an attempt to make Bob's 30-year vendetta not be for naught. That's the only reason you're on this board. That's the only reason he puts up with you and your rants and childish behavior. Somewhere in you, you must know that. I don't doubt that you're doing all of this in some vain attempts to make a name for yourself, being as everything else you've tried to manipulate your way through has failed. Blatant cronyism got you your seat on the board. Blatant cronyism is helping you drain the coffers of the township. You are, by the position you hold, expected to help and protect those residing in its boundaries. So there you go. Try using that one against anyone beside your friends without blatantly lying. Countless cases of cronyism. Countless cases. Cronyism. So much fun to say, not so much fun to watch.
Okay, I think that's the phone. Is there any public comment from the phone?
They probably can't get it without the
Any public comment from the telephone? Any public comment from the telephone? Any public comment from the telephone? No one in here? Okay, we'll move on. C, approval of the minutes from the last meeting on August 13th, 2020.
I'll make a motion to approve those minutes.
I'll second the motion.
I have a correction.
Okay, first correction.
Any public comment at this time? Any public comment at this time? Go ahead.
Okay, this is Dave Jones, I live in Mchenry on Shepherd Hill Lane. The weekend of August 28th, I went out and got a little exercise on my bike. And when I got back from my bike ride, I spotted this black SUV in our cul-de-sac. And I usually know most of the cars on our block, so I figured it must be a stranger because it had an anti-township sticker on the back. And as I had a look at my house, I noticed there was a whole bunch of brochures stuck in mailboxes. So I was kind of curious what that was all about. Turns out it was distribution by a group called Citizens for Tax Relief. Any of you guys heard of that group? In any case, they had a whole bunch of misinformation in these brochures. In particular, they had the fact that they thought that the referendum on filling the township was going to be on the November 3rd ballot, which is clearly a lie. There's plenty of other misinformation on these too, but something I did notice is that there's no postage on any of these things. As I recall, that's a federal violation of the post office, the postal service. So apparently this group has plenty of money to burn because it was a huge, three-color brochure. And with all that money to burn, maybe you guys would be able to pay your fine because I'm going to report this to the postmaster. And good luck to you because I don't think it's going to be on the ballot November 3rd. Thank you.
Any other public comment from the college? Okay, correct. No other public comment. Go forward.
Okay. Pat and Bob, you need a motion to approve of the correction of the minute?
Yes, would be on page 6, and it's on the second line, and according to Danielle, he states that in 3.5 years, I've never missed a posting the agenda. And then it also says, I also made changes so that would not happen again. So I believe that he just kind of missed that one line and should put in there that he did have one posting that we did miss there. It was never posted. Can you see it where it's there? It contradicts itself.
Yes, okay. Page 6?
On page 6, right. second line down.
Second line. Okay.
You see where's that?
Yes, so it's saying,
It says, Clerk Dan Elwood stated that in 3.5 years, I have never missed posting the agenda. But he did miss the posting, but then with a comment, he says, I also made changes so that will never happen again.
so would you like to say,
I think what he needs to say is that he missed posting the agenda and that he's making changes so it never happen again.
okay, this posting agenda, working to make sure that everybody has it in.
But
That makes sense.
But it needs to be, right above that, it needs to be saying that he missed posting it, that he's made arrangements so it will never happen again.
This posting agenda, kind of like working to make changes so that never happen again. Okay, can you set that for correction? Any corrections? Any corrections? And we can always take a roll call vote.
I'd like to make a comment, please.
Okay.
I just wanted to comment that during one of the things that we did last month, there was a discussion, and Trustee Vera stated that he had questions, and it was addressed by the supervisor. There was no details on what those discussions were, and while I don't have a problem with people who make comments about what's going on, they're in complete detail, and I was wondering why Steve's questions regarding this subject was just he asked questions.
Well, this analysis doesn't have to be examined. So,
I mean, I think the township business is just as important as people giving comments.
sure. Okay, don't know what to play there.
It's on page 3,
Three.
just south of the yellow marking for youtube.com.
Those were questions I'm sure regarding the minutes, and we discussed
I just think that it would be nice if, in our board packet, if the
question that they say, one question regarding the minutes. Okay, so I got those two corrections then.
You know, you need to take your mask off. I can't hear you.
So there are those two corrections. Okay.
Are we going to vote on it prior to the corrections being made, or?
Yes.
I didn't hear who seconded it.
Correct.
I said, okay, let's have a roll call with the corrections on the minutes of August 13th. Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Raystra?
Yes.
Mr. Adams, yes. Mr. Beer?
No.
Mr. Wojciechowski?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Motion for approval of receipts and bills for the town fund.
I have a question on, when do you want to take that?
Let's get first and second first, right?
You have a question on the town fund?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, let me make the motion, get a second, then we have a discussion. We, the undersigned members of the Mchenry Township Board of Trustees, certify that we have, on this 10th day of September 2020, examined and audited the amounts due for the items specified in the claims attached and hereby authorized payments of same. Total reimbursements to be approved, $753.64. Total bills to be approved, $9,577.13. Total bills paid prior to audit, $33,078.86. Total to be approved, $43,409.63. Total receipts, $6,125.11. I move to accept the receipts and pay the bills for the town fund.
Okay, we have first, accept the receipts, pay the bills for the town fund, and the second.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Bastrop. Can I ask the question?
Well, this relates to Mr. Militello's bill. So, maybe, can he be shown what I'm going to talk about?
Yeah, can you have it in front of you?
No.
I'm sure you have.
Debbie does.
I'm sure you have. So, is it in the board? It's not in the board packet.
No.
But I know the bill. Go ahead.
It was the entry for, well, maybe Debbie's bringing.
Want to use your microphone?
Debbie, do you have my bill?
What?
Do you have our office bill?
Yeah, do you need it?
Yeah, could you grab it?
All right.
The background on this is that some of the bills is split with the road district, right?
Okay.
And some determination is made, not by you, but by someone in the township, how it's to be split.
Correct.
So I have a question about the splitting of the 828 bill. It seems to me that at least some of that should be put onto the road district.
Is this for the sexual harassment?
Right.
Great point, and I think that's a great point. I mean,
I'm not criticizing
Yeah.
anything about it, except that the road district should be paying some, at least some of the, I realize from the entry, and you'll see it in a second, that the majority of the time is spent on the township stuff. But it also says the beginning of the sexual harassment and all the rest of it, which carried over to the 31st, and that was split. Okay, so it's just a matter of figuring out how much was for each subject.
We split the bottom, we did not split that.
Yeah, I think that in fairness, the way we've treated it was, this was work that we did for the township, and my documents that I forwarded was geared towards the township, not the road. I had no communications with the highway department on it, or anyone in that office for that matter. As to whether to split it, I think it would be appropriate if the township wants to do that. I mean, because I assume it would be also employees of the road district that would be participating in it?
Yes, we did talk to them.
Okay. So, I mean, with that said, it's a great point, Steve, and probably could be split with the road district.
Well, from the way you wrote it, it looks like the majority of the time was for the township.
All of the time was for, when I literally worked on that, that was all for the township and had nothing to do with the road district.
But it says on the
The initial, once it was given, then the road district, we told them what we were doing and then included.
begin review of sexual harassment training model policy from state law, right? The bottom.
We initiated it,
So,
and then he
Yeah, I'm
included
just
the
talking about
road
that.
district once.
That last section of the,
so Jim, how much time did you spend on sexual harassment? So you can give us an idea on that particular line, and we could split it.
Understood, I understand. I would probably, 2.75 or 2.5 would be the amount of time on the sexual harassment, and approximately an hour. If I were to break those time periods down, I would break it down in between 1.25 from the township on one piece, and then 2.5 for the sexual harassment piece. And then the question is then
And then I
that
break that
2.5 is that split between you and, yes.
That adjustment can be made if you want.
We will make that adjustment.
We want that adjustment?
Yes.
Okay.
In the future, if it's easier, and things like that, and I wasn't clearly thinking, because I let them do that as far as breaking that split, where there may be that issue, I'll put that break in the time. Thank you.
Okay. So if there's no other questions, we have a motion for approval of receipts of the bills for the town fund. The only change would be is we're going to,
Craig, take your.
I'm sorry, I can't, we're going to take those 2.5 hours out of Jim's legal fee and they will go to the road district, okay?
I understand it.
So we have a first and a second. Any further discussion? None being heard, let's have a roll call vote. Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Rickström?
Yes.
Mr. Adams, yes. Mr. Beer? Yes. And Mr. Producer?
Yes.
Okay.
I didn't hear Beer.
He said yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Motion for approval of receipts and bills from general road and bridge fund.
We, the undersigned members of the McHenry Township Board of Trustees, certify that we have on this 10th day of September 2020 examined and audited amounts due for the items specified in the claims attached and hereby authorize payments of same. Total reimbursements to be approved, nothing. Total bills to be approved, $83,257.41. Total bills paid prior to audit, $19,324.96. Total to be approved, $102,582.37. Total receipts, $11,523.91. I make a motion that we accept the receipts and pay the bills for the general road and bridge.
I'll second it.
Have a first and a second. Let's have any questions?
Well, with
With
the same modification,
Yeah,
maybe.
you have to state that that modification will be done. You have to change the cover sheets
Right, the modification will be done, we'll change the cover sheets.
for the adjustment on crime and law.
For the adjustment of crime law. Okay? So with that, roll call vote. Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Armstrong? Yes. Mr. Adams, yes. Mr. Miller?
Yes.
And Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Last item on the motion for approval of receipt bills from the Cleveland County Fund.
Permanent Hard Road Fund, total reimbursements to be approved, 0. Total bills to be approved, $717,950.72. Total bills paid prior to audit, $15,315.75. Total to be approved, $733,266.47. Total receipts, $3,551.50. I will make the motion to accept the receipts and pay the bills.
I'll second. Mike seconded. Any discussion? Okay, let's have a roll call vote. Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Rickström?
Yes.
Mr. Adams, yes. Mr. Beer?
Yes.
And Mr. Wojcicki?
Yes.
Okay, yes, motion passes. First one starts with this business. To review resolution for sexual harassment training model policy from the state of Illinois, discussion of possible action. Let me quickly explain this. The state of Illinois came out with a sexual harassment training policy.
Why don't you make a motion first?
Oh, I'm sorry. We have a motion
second it.
Okay. I just wanted to do a quick discussion. State law, with this article, but as typically the state does, they didn't give us any standards to go by. So you have to train, but we work on the standards. So the standards are only going to be available for a couple months.
Craig, please pull that.
The standards are only going to be available for 2 or 3 months. So we have to do this before the end of the year. So that's why we're reducing this now. And you have the requirements in your packet.
I do not have any comments on it.
Somebody else has any comments on it? With that, that's something we have to do, so for roll call vote to pass it.
Can we continue discussion?
Sure.
I guess that my biggest problem with this is that even though we technically are employees, we only come here to these meetings and really just vote on township business. And I really feel strongly that this, I don't think that this should include our board because of that.
I understand.
I can comment on that.
Okay.
Mike, great question, and that's something that a lot of people have wrestled with, but what they did, and I say they, the legislature, when they passed this, there was a modification to the act itself, and they specifically, not just employees, Mike, it's officers and employees, basically all officers and employees. So they're trying to cover everybody within whatever that organization is. Failure to not do it puts you at risk, and the township at risk for not having done it, period. What it does do is it goes on to further say not only are we to have this training, preventative training each year, you're supposed to do it each annual year thereafter. So a lot of businesses, a lot of organizations, a lot of units of government may have gotten lax in it, so they've required it now. And so in order to meet that threshold test that they've said, one of the things we're going to require and we're going to make sure is that there's certifications by those individuals that participated in whatever that participation is. And in order to make sure that we're in compliance, making sure the township's in compliance, we adopted the model, at least I'm encouraging to adopt the model code so that there's no holes in the training program that someone could say something wasn't done. So by following the model code, I believe we've covered all bases because we could say we followed the model code. That was the basis of the training and making sure that we at least cover that. And then by you citing that certification page, saying that I've done that then, and the township then having that in their file provides the evidence. If anybody does say, hey, was that training ever done by Mike?
And Mike, to answer a question Steve had earlier, you don't actually have to attend. You read through these sheets that are in this packet, and then you sign the sheet at the end and put online.
Just read them and sign it.
That you went through this whole thing.
Explain that again, Craig.
I'm
Because I
saying,
read all the way through that, but I didn't quite understand what
I'm
was
saying,
saying
if
come
you-
for the meeting.
if you, everything is in this packet that the state has suggested, right, that needs to be covered. So I know you as trustees have different time limits, et cetera. So if you read through this, all these pages, okay, and then return this sheet, 35, certifying that you've done it, I
So
think
copy that off and bring it in.
Yeah, I did.
there's a copy of it in there.
I don't have it.
Yeah, you do.
Did
I don't
everybody,
have what he's got.
did everybody get my email?
If you don't have it, we'll get it to you.
Okay, sure.
But if I can get that the form here, because I read it on the computer.
Right.
So if I'll get that form tonight, I'll sign off on that.
I do have it, I'm sorry.
Okay. I can give you the form, Bob, right now.
Okay.
No, I've got it.
Before I forget.
Glad that came out, thank you. So we just fill this up and then drop it off with turn it into the clerk?
Yes, turn to the clerk.
Thank you.
Discussion.
All right.
Does that Act 101-22 mandate the township board to pass this ordinance?
They mandate, the act doesn't specifically mandate that you require to pass the model ordinance. It requires you to pass a ordinance, and an ordinance that it has to be equal to or greater than what you have. And so here's the problem, is that one of the sections, I think it's 2-109, sexual harassment prevention training, what it says is that if an employer violates this, so in this case, the township, if we violate that, then there's ramifications. So in order to make sure that we comply, in order to make sure that we have, someone says, well, what training method did you adopt? Then we can say we've now adopted the model training ordinance and we followed that model training ordinance. Failure to adopt anything puts the township at risk for not having adopted something and then not following it. I don't recall off the top of my head specifically, Steve, to your point, if it says that the township has to adopt, I don't know that it says they have to adopt an ordinance, but that's what would need to happen in order to adopt a training program.
Okay, any further discussion? Do you have that ordinance?
I do. The name of the ordinance.
Well, then that means that every time it's changed at the state level, we have to change the ordinance.
That's correct. Absolutely, because it becomes the model. It's the model training code. And that's absolutely correct. So if they change that's absolutely right. So if they change that code and they say, you know what, that model has changed and now there's additional information, that baseline for maintaining the base, we would need to adopt and amend our ordinance to include the new amended code. And failure to do that could put the township at risk or any other organization at risk for not following the minimum requirements. The township could adopt their own set of requirements. That's fine. However, at a minimum, you need to at least adopt the model code, or at least have provisions in there that maintain the model code. So it is my opinion that if you adopt the model code, you've at least covered yourself to make sure you've got all the minimums covered.
Is this going to be put in the employee handbook now?
It should be.
This will be added for the employee handbook and it also will be placed online.
Is the employee handbook online?
I'm sorry, Mike. So I put ordinance on this ordinance 20-1009. An ordinance establishing sexual harassment prevention training in the township of Mchenry, Illinois.
It seems like instead of protecting the township, it's now voting on two things. The law that governs anyway, and this ordinance, that if there's a complaint brought, could be brought under both. Correct, Mr. Montal?
They're the same.
No, they're not quite the same, because we're going to have to constantly monitor to make sure that nothing has changed. Okay?
You're absolutely right. And I guess as our position, that is one of the things that we have to constantly do, whether it's the sexual harassment, whether it's the ethics ordinance, whether it's the township code, we do have to monitor it, and if there are changes, bring those changes to the board for review and adoption. So that's part of making sure that we try to keep the township in compliance.
Then why don't we adopt ordinances for every single state law? Why is this unique? That besides the law, the township must adopt this specific ordinance.
You don't. The township does not need to adopt this specific ordinance. What the township needs to do is adopt a ordinance that provides for sexual harassment training, prevention training. whatever that may be. And
Does the statute actually say that?
it says that it has to have a sexual harassment prevention training program. And in order to have a program, the township, by an ordinance or a resolution, has to adopt something. And if you don't adopt something, then you don't have anything in place where somebody could say, whether it's your employees or the general public, what is the process or what is the method for doing sexual harassment prevention training? Is it just doing X, Y, and Z? Or is it X, Y, Z, and A, B, and C? So by adopting this ordinance, you've said this is the method by which you're going to follow. Now, you don't have to do that. You could adopt something completely different, adopt your own, and tie it all together. You certainly could do that. Again, the risk by doing that, though, is if you leave something out that's in the model code, then it could put the township at risk. That's the difference by trying to do our own.
Why can't the supervisor just set the policy that we adopt in the employee handbook? We adopt whatever the state statute is. Why do we have to come up with this ordinance, is what I'm asking.
Then the question becomes, is the supervisor going to make the decision to adopt whatever the program is, and is the board then saying...
We can adopt the state program.
So then, is that the board, is the board saying to the supervisor, you adopt whatever you want to adopt for the township? Or if he adopts something that the board is not happy with, then does the board change that?
You've already recommended the state statute, right?
I've recommended for the simple fact of it, if there's something that causes a problem, the township has followed the minimum.
So then it becomes his policy. I'm trying, the more corrupt the society becomes, the more laws it needs to try and keep things in order, okay? Now suddenly, this is like a mandate that we have to adopt this as some kind of an ordinance, when it doesn't, the statute doesn't even say that. It just says it has to be a program, right?
Yes, that is correct.
Then why can't the supervisor do it? And in fact, just take the entire state, statute in.
The issue then is, does the board want to make a motion and direct the supervisor to do that? Or is the board saying, we don't need to do that and let the supervisor just do that?
Right, which is what the law says apparently. We have to have a program, right?
Correct.
Then it should be a job of the supervisor, not an extra ordinance. We don't, I mean, otherwise what? We're coming up with ordinances all the time. And if the statute does not require us to do it, I don't see why we should. Because now we get sued under violating the ordinance and violating the state statute. Okay.
Understood. And I guess the point is that this ordinance mirrors the state statute, one way or the other. I guess your issue is what happens if the state statute changes and...
No, not just that. In fact, then the ordinance would never have to be changed, because the supervisor will be up on it and make the changes if he adopts a state program. Okay. If I was going to file a sexual harassment complaint, I would say Township Mchenry violated the state law, and it also violated its own ordinance that was adopted on whatever, September 10th, 2020. Okay. So why do we have to do it? We're not required to do it. Well, it's just the easy pass, and the supervisor doesn't have to do anything. But in fact, the supervisor still has to make sure that what the new statute is, and all its changes, to make sure the program is being followed.
the program needs to be followed, as well as the lady who's doing the program, they need to make sure that the model ethics provisions are in there as well. I guess the only issue is that if it's challenged, whether or not the township approved the training program versus another program. And if that's the issue, then, you know, and you're saying that the supervisor has the discretion to decide whatever training program he wants to use, then so be it.
Okay. What does the supervisor have to say about it, the change? Well, the supervisor says that if it's just to make sure that we're in compliance, okay. And also, and therefore, if there are any changes, you know, I could list something, and this way I can list this, as a to see that it's done, we're in compliance, shows that way we're in compliance. That's my recommendation.
Well, when you say in compliance, there's no compliance required in the township passing an ordinance, okay? So let's start with that, okay? The only thing the township has to do is comply with the state law and initiate some kind of program. Your argument that you might miss it if you don't do the ordinance is ridiculous, because you're going to have to keep track of what the statute is anyway. If it changes.
I understand what Steve's saying, I just feel comfortable with having the ordinance also, that's all I'm saying. No further discussion, let's take a vote then. Ordinance 20-1009. Mr. Anderson.
I'm going to vote for that. I don't see, I think that'd be the simplest way to do this, is just to vote on your motion and have the ordinance.
Thank you.
So I'll vote for that.
Mr. Richter.
I'll vote for it.
Okay. Mr. Adams, yes. Mr. Byrne?
No.
Mr. Wojcicki?
Yes.
Okay. Motion passes. I have no other business right now. Do we need to propose items for next month's meeting? Okay, hearing none, we'll move to the supervisor's report.
The trustee supervisor, may I make a comment?
Yes, sir.
I don't necessarily know that you need to put it on a proposed item for this agenda, but there was one comment regarding an annual meeting. So I just wanted to address that. It was early on in the beginning when everything started happening, the government passed House Bill 2046, which amended part of the township code regarding the annual meetings. And what it specifically says is that the annual meeting shall be conducted, I believe, on the third Tuesday of the month following basically when everything's canceled. So the last time I saw, I think it was Executive Order 2020-52. The executive order has been extended to September 19th. So my understanding is September 19th is the last day. That may be extended again, but if September 19th is the last day, then the third Tuesday of the month of October should be your annual meeting. And if that's the case, it would be October 20th would be your annual meeting if this ends in September.
Okay, so that answers that question. If the government, if this is, our problem is social distancing in this room, and that would not be the issue, so we'll have to figure out what we can figure out. Okay. The supervisor's report, and the park report, general assistance report.
Do we have to vote on what he just commented about?
No.
No, actually, it's what it says in the statute in the Annual Town Act regarding annual town meetings. There's a section in there that was newly added that basically says it's the third Tuesday of the month following that time period. So if it ends in September, the third Tuesday would then be October 20th of October.
So in essence, what we've just done is say that October 20th is the date? Is that
That is the date, but that could change. And what I mean by that could change is that if the executive order comes out Friday, tomorrow, and says, or Monday next week, and says, we extend it to October 5th, for example, then your next annual date could be that third Tuesday in November. So whatever that next following month, the third Tuesday.
Okay. So now this is report, we're going to have a packet. Any questions on that?
There was no baseball or softball or soccer or anything in baseball fields.
There was one, we can have, I'm not up on it I'm not up on it exactly, but I think they couldn't have more than, I don't want to say, Mike, I don't know, there's a certain number of people that could only congregate. I don't know what that was. So there was some usage, yes.
Okay, thank you.
The assessors report is in your packet. It's appeal plan. Okay. Highway commissioners reports in your packet. Any questions on either of those reports?
Here's the answer for the road district.
I am not here to answer for the road district.
So what are the questions? Who are they directed to?
You're right. I guess you could make a question and he will get back to you.
Well, I have a question for the assessor. How come Algonquin Township has twice as many parcels to assess, but the same number of employees as Mchenry Township?
Get the question to her. Okay, is there any question for the highway commissioner? Okay.
Well, the $45,000 that we paid to Nunde Township.
Want to know what that is? I will refer these questions to them. Okay. We need an executive session?
Yes.
We say yes. Okay.
I think you have to give a reason.
You have to give a reason.
I have actually three reasons. I want to talk about that the lawsuit against the county clerk. I also want I want information on what happened with Johnsburg Police Department.
And the third thing?
And the third is who had the authority to file a lawsuit when we never voted on it, and the ramifications of that.
Each of those items that the trustee just mentioned regarding potential or pending litigation items would fall under 5 ILCS 120. Dan? I just want to make sure you got this section.
I'm sorry, do I?
That's right. 5 ILCS 120/2.
I'm sorry, 5
ILCS 120/2, exceptions, which is C, and number 11. C 11.
And another topic would be the Attorney General's matter. I believe there's 2, right, pending.
That would all fall under it.
We need a second to go in, right?
Yes, we do.
I'll second.
Okay, we'll go first, second, we're going to take executive session.
Who's the first, second? Vote.
Oh, and a vote, we need to vote, sorry. Mr. Anderson? Yes. Mr. Rakestraw?
Yes.
Mr. Adams, yes. Mr. Rivera?
Yes.
Mr. Wojcicki?
Yes.
Okay. We'll move to executive session.
I'm gonna start playing volleyball and join you.
Okay. Maverick? Goose. No, he starts. Can I say you need to really bring out public speaking?
Huh?
You used to say you didn't like public speaking.
I hate public speaking.
You
Do you
did
not
really-
see me shaking?
Oh, I heard it. I heard your voice. You did pretty good at it.
Go back out from you.
Yes.
She works in a place in Santa Claus cases, so she's
Oh,
sure.
okay.
Not only that, but I personally work a high-risk job in that location.
Okay.
So,
That wasn't very.
it's
I
not
haven't had time
like
today
hug
this
people
week.
and be near them, but I would love to.
Well, you're a little emotional, Ron. I wouldn't let you go.
I'm always
You
emotional.
need my phone number, okay?
This week I'm stressed out.
Yeah.
I turned back heel, so for you.
Is that it?
Give it out.
Oh, here? Yeah.
So I just need to, I will text them, I mean, I'll send the photos. Oh, yes, yeah.
Yeah, I
I
don't
thought
know
everybody
if we
was,
should stay or not.
yeah, I don't know what they're up to. I'd love to have a bug in that room, find out what they're discussing.
Need a hand?
No, I'll get it. I just gotta walk myself up to it. Love getting older.
Oh, it's, oh, I wish. Stan from the Hard Road. What's next?
No, I just don't want to go to executive session. I just don't want to sit in executive.
Oh. GRB. I'm taking the sheets out where we made the corrections.
Okay.
So they all need to be re-signed.
Okay.
Like you're not signed, or I don't know, maybe I should have them sign both?
No, just 10%.
Have them just sign the corrected one, right? It's GRBs and then town. Just remind them in the executive session that they're gonna have to re-sign paperwork tonight. The Lions are great. They are awesome with that.
Great, because I think if I can, and if I don't feel so bad, she expected to lose it.
Right.
Because especially with these masks,
Right.
Just taking them off and you're off and the mask is losing.
Right, and it gets hot, yeah.
It's like ridiculous.
I don't know, I get it. I get it.
So thanks.
All right.
I wallet, so I won't lose it. I'll call you tomorrow, I'll even.
I'll call you, yeah, just call me anytime and I'll try to get that information.
Okay, all right, just email them, like you said.
Right.
Okay, oops, all right, yeah, just tell the guys outside.
Okay.
We're resuming our normal meeting, our regular meeting at 8:30. 8:30 PM. And final action will be adjournment.
If there's any board member comments,
Oh,
just to make sure.
okay, hearing none, take a motion to adjourn. Have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None being heard, meeting is adjourned.
All right, you got to sign the paper.
Oh, you gotta re-sign all those papers. Has Debbie made the changes?
She made changes over what we said during the meeting.
Right. Remember? Yeah, about
Well,
the
we
letter
didn't-
bill.
Well, we didn't sign anything yet. This is the changes now?
What we said.
Have a good night. Good night, John. Craig?
I'll get it.
Thanks for using WebEx. Visit our website at www.webex.com.
I don't recognize myself.
Just the two years. They bracketed us.
Eventually, they'll just work their way towards the middle.
Maybe I should have said it.
Guys, eventually they'll just work their way through the middle and make us all nice and just one. That's what I'm saying.
Thank you, Doug.
All right, you got everybody re-signing?